Will everyone please stand? Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Good morning and welcome. We're very glad that you are here on behalf of the family and friends and loved ones and everybody in here who, if you ever had a conversation with Bobby Hunt, you felt like the most important person in the world. Glad that you're here. Welcome. We appreciate everyone being here. So we will begin with the reading of the obituary.
Good morning. Robert Brian Bobby Hunt was born February 7, 1939 in El Campo, Texas, to Raymond V. Hunt and Molly Herring Hunt. He was the fifth and last child born to the family and the only one of the siblings born in a hospital. Bobby attended Garwood schools, playing basketball and football, which included him in the marching band at halftime. He attended Abilene Christian University, graduated in 1962 with a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture. Upon graduation, he returned to Garwood Prairie and began farming with the family. Soon thereafter, his beloved father passed away. Bobby continued farming with his brother and brother-in-law, then began farming independently. His daughters Melissa and Camille were born, and then the family moved to Columbus. Bobby spent 20 years serving on the board of the Garwood Farmers Co-op, and at the last almost 20 years as the president. He also served on the board of directors of America Rice Incorporated and the Garwood Volunteer Fire Department. Bobby's family has a remarkable history. They were all experienced pilots. His grandfather and father were both rice farmers, a tradition carried down by Bobby and his siblings, revealing a story of 100 years of rice farmers. Bobby and his nephew Madison Hunt Smith began farming together in 1989. Bobby's sister Shirley, Madison's mother, joined them in 1994 and continued till her death in 2012. In 2015, Bobby's health required him to retire as an active farmer. However, the foundation he helped establish holds strong and continues to produce rice to this day as 52 farms. Bobby is preceded in death by his 4 siblings and their spouses, Dale V. Hunt, Shirley, Galena Hunt, Langford, Otto, Shirley Hunt Smith, Alton, Janet Hunt Wesson, James. He was also preceded in death by his nephew, Clayton Smith, brother-in-law J. Robert Herring, and sister-in-law Glenda Whitworth Sawyer. Bobby is survived by his wife of 34 years, Jean Whitworth Hunt, daughters Camille Dixon Carl, Melissa Green, and fiance Andrew Whiteow, stepchildren Shelley Cordray, Daniel Penalosa, Neil Cordray, Melissa, and Chad Cordray. He is survived by 8 grandchildren, Cayman and Carson Dixon, Anthony and Jordan Penalosa, Colby and Kaylee Cordray, Devin and Peyton Green. Other survivors are sister-in-law Yvonne Whitworth Miller, Buddy, and Carolyn Herring, as well as numerous nieces and nephews. In 1989, Bobby and Jean Ann married and lived 34 wonderful years together, often spending travel and vacations. Bobby and Jean were a united couple, bringing love and light to all those in their path. At family reunions, El Campo Church of Christ and Columbus Church of Christ, where he also served as an elder, Bobby was a vigorous song leader. Bobby's life reminds us that indeed possible for the ordinary person to choose to be extraordinary. As one nephew said, Uncle Bobby's lesson will forever stay in our hearts. He leaves a legacy for our family here and for generations to come. Our dear Bobby, we will always remember your contagious laughter and your sweet spirit. Until we meet again, may you rest gently in the arms of your Savior. Thank you.
Good morning. My dad was a farmer who has planted billions of seeds in his lifetime. But the most important seeds he has planted are the ones in the hearts of his family and friends. He planted various seeds of love, kindness, life lessons, and just about having fun. He was always planting seeds while he was busy being a father, a husband, a church member, a community member, still planting seeds, an uncle, giving a once-in-a-lifetime thrill-seeking ride to inner tubers of his nieces and nephews, all while screaming, "Uncle Bobby, faster!" Still spreading seeds. While singing in a quartet in front of 500 people, while singing a duet with his oldest daughter, still planting seeds. While helping people by volunteering as a volunteer firefighter. As a man who never met a stranger. As a board member. As a forward thinker. While he worked with Texas A&M researchers to help improve the rice seeds and to help improve the farming industry for rice farmers. As a neighbor and as a friend, still planting seeds of love, kindness, life lessons, and just about having fun in life. Two seeds my dad planted in my life were faith and perspective. I'm sure Dad is smiling down on us today and listening to what I just said. And he's like, "Great, Cammie, that's all I get? I get credit for planting only 2 seeds in your life?" Due to the sheer amount of people who have loved him so much and need to talk today, I've decided to narrow it down to just 2 seeds. The first seed is faith, the second seed is perspective. I was blessed to be born into a family that believed in God. The gift of the seed of faith helped me rely on God through every season of life. I have a sweet memory of my dad baptizing me in a freezing cold baptistry in the small town of Columbus at the age of 13. I always relied on that seed of faith. To this day, I cling to that seed that has been planted decades ago. Some seeds are planted during unexpected life circumstances, like the time the seed of perspective was planted in my teenage life. It was the summer of 1984. It was a hot summer day in Texas. I was 15 years old. I was a week into the very job I was working towards my entire life. It was a short career ladder. I was an auger cart driver. I could see in the distance my uncles were leaving the field. That only meant one thing. It was Dad and I, our responsibility to finish harvesting that very field. There were 3 things in the field that day. It was my dad driving his combine, combining, harvesting the rice in his combine, my tractor with an auger cart, and a beautiful large oak tree. I had nestled my tractor under the oak tree because as the newest auger cart driver, I was not given the blessing of a tractor with a cab. Because if you get a tractor with a cab, you also get air conditioning. And you also get a radio. I fixed that. I had my handy dandy Walkman listening to 80s music with my headphones on. All the while I was paying attention. I've learned that lesson. That seed is planted. You always pay attention as an auger cart driver. I was waiting for my dad to give me the signal. All the while, I had 3 golden rules running through my head. Rule number 1, never, ever, 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 ever hit your dad's combine with your tractor. Rule number 2, hustle. It's harvest time. We don't dilly-dally. Rule number 3, you make sure you're at the right angle, because if you don't come in at the right angle while you're hustling, while you're not trying to hit your dad's combine that is worth more than a few houses, you don't park the auger exactly where your father needs it, because he wants the grain of rice to go in the auger. It's not to go on the ground. I was ready. There was going to be signals. My dad always said so. There's the lights, there's the auger coming out, and sometimes there are hand signals if you pay close attention. I saw it in the distance. It's time. It is go time. I put my clutch in. I have to be very careful with the accelerator because if I hit it too fast, the tractor will start jerking. I'm going forward. I'm committed. I'm in. I'm getting the right angle. I'm not going to hit Dad's truck. Rule number 1, combine, don't hit the combine. Rule number 2, I'm hustling. I'm focused. I'm coming at the right angle. What's in the background? Pop, pop. I look back, and to my surprise, the entire auger cart that I'd been pulling with my tractor was going through the only live oak tree in the middle of that field. I had missed the trunk. Maybe Dad won't notice. Keep going forward. I'm committed. I can't stop. Get the right angle. Don't hit the combine. Park. I made it. I am perfect. It was the perfect angle. Maybe Dad didn't notice. I looked back briefly. It wasn't pretty. I'm not gonna lie. It looked like a very last minute thrown together DIY camouflage or auger cart project. I had branches, I had leaves hanging on. Next thing I knew, I had an animated parent outside the combine. Giving me the universal signal with his hands waving, his hat off. Take off your headphones. The amazing thing was that I could actually hear what my father was saying because he was yelling. Because you gotta remember, we're out there in the field, we have wind blowing, the birds chirping, and the roar of the combines and the roar of the tractor. But amazingly, once I took my headphones off, I could hear my father very clearly. How on earth did you hit the only tree in the field? As I was explaining my misjudgment of depth perception, my father was making his way to the tractor. Upon further conversation, I was apologizing to my dad and reassuring that I would remove all the branches and repaint the hopper cart. Dad said, "Cammy, you are missing the point. It isn't about the equipment. I was worried that the tree or the spout of the auger that weighs tons would crash into your tractor and hurt you. It was never about my equipment. It was about you. I can't go home if you're not living, breathing, walking, and talking." The aha moment that happened for the 15-year-old daughter. Oh, now I get it. I get it. My perspective was so tunnel vision on not hitting my dad's combine that I forgot to pay attention to my auger. I was so focused on getting from point A to point B that I forgot about the poor oak tree that will take years to regrow those branches that I plowed through. And I stressed my dad out, worrying if the tree or the auger spout would fall on his daughter. Due to my lack of perspective, at that time, the seed of perspective was planted by my father. Looking back at that day, many seeds of knowledge, life advice, other advice, many seeds were planted that day. Many seeds are planted that where the trees and the bushes were in the next few fields for the next few days were planted for me. That day ingrained the seed of perspective. May we all be thankful for the seeds of faith, perspective, love, kindness, life lessons, and just having fun that Dad planted in our lives. Thank you for coming today to honor Dad and to celebrate his life.
Good morning. Wow, I don't know how to follow that. For those of you who don't know, my name is Daniel Penaloza, and I'm the son-in-law. I've had the honor of knowing Bobby for 27 or 29 years now. So about maybe around a third of his life. So there are and would be countless, memories that I could talk about. What he did in helping and raising with our children. Coming to all of the events that were planned, all of the holidays, all of the gatherings, all of the love, and everything that this man was about. And obviously, there's a lot of farming and hunting. And those are the two things that I'm going to talk about today. And the reason I'm going to talk about the farming and the hunting is that those are the two things that I really felt that Bobby let me into his life. So there's other conversations and families that are going to have way more stories about it, but these are the things that really touched me in, as a city boy. I had zero exposure to any of this, any of the madness, any of the mayhem, any of the stories, any of the auger carts or anything like that. But for me, having just a little bit of Bobby, I was able to do this. He invited us from the time before Shelley and I were married, down to the farm anytime, any reason. It didn't matter. Before we were married, he invited us to go hunting. I remember riding in the back of a Jeep somewhere, probably Sheridan or something, and he was just screaming and hollering and got his flashlights out. He's ready to go, just any time, any day. He let me bring my motorcycle to ride. It didn't matter where. If he was out, he was about. If it was a weekend, if he was busy or not, we had a new motorcycle. We had kids, four-wheelers. It was bring them on out. Let's have some fun. Absolutely just the ride of a life. He introduced me to the staff at the co-op, dragged me around, introduced me, and I even got to go eat with him at Nada's one time. He told stories about that and invited me one time, and I was the beneficiary of one of his lunches. He would draw me maps to the roads to where he was farming. Just a bunch of dirt to me, but it was, past this tree, past this levee, over the third hill, off to the left, take a look at the silo, and it's mind-boggling where he was. And even had to call him one time, amongst all the commotion and the diesel and the noise, and he had to guide me in, probably on more than one occasion. He let us and the kids into his life. And you saw some of the pictures, riding the combines, picture of my daughter there in front of the Garwood sign, multiple pictures of the grandkids just having the time of their life, riding in the auger cart, just learning things and being able to spend the time with Bobby just for the things that he absolutely loved. Even got to drive the combine. Would have never imagined in a million years that I would have been able to do that, and with lots of direction. As going 3 to 4 miles an hour, boy, is the world spinning fast. By God, if you hit that levee with the wrong angle, the world is going to come to an end. So definitely a lot of life lessons there. He talked about all the work that he did in Madison and Clayton, and all the effort that it took, and just to hear the passion in his voice about what it was. One thing that was really fantastic was that he allowed our Boy Scout troop to come down several years ago, and there was one merit badge amongst the 130 some odd merit badges out there. It's called the Farm Mechanics Merit Badge, and if I'm not mistaken, there's actually one individual here that I think might have actually earned it while we were on that trip. And so our troop was the only troop to ever earn that we knew about. And all the little Boy Scout events that we went to, that was the one. And he invited us in, and it took a lot. He took us down to the John Deere dealership. He invited us in. We got to meet the manager. We got to go to the shop. We got to go to see where all the equipment was, what they're working on. They let us wander around the parking lot, go climb into stuff, and it was just fantastic. He led us into the warehouse. He taught us about what was going on, some of the tools that they used, let the kids climb into the combines. We cooked lunch and just had a fantastic time. We had to camp, and it just so happens that that particular day when we camped, it was one of the coldest camping events that our Boy Scout troop had ever done. We got down to 26, 24 degrees. Miserable conditions, but Bobby was right there alongside us. He didn't stay to spend the night, but he did come out to the campsite. We had to cook for him, so he did come out and join us. It was just a fantastic, and he answered every single question that any person in this family that had any interest in farming would have. Hunting. I had been hunting in my past, with my dad, half a dozen times, maybe, close, whatever. But I didn't realize how big of a deal it was. It wasn't just hunting. It was part of their life. It was everything. It was what they waited on. It was what was most important after the final harvest. It was everything culminating to that day. And he invited me decades before I ever went. Not exactly sure why I didn't go. Not exactly sure. But one time I said, I'm going to go. We're going to see what this is all about. He never begged me. He just said, it will be fun. Okay. Let's go along with that. So there are a lot of things that he told me about this hunting trip, but there's a lot of stuff he didn't tell me all about. He said, we're going to leave on Thanksgiving. He didn't tell me we were going to leave at midnight. He didn't tell me that we were going to drive 10, 12 hours, all night long. He said, you're probably going to have to drive. We're going to, someone will sleep because it's a long way. He didn't tell me that I was going to get to drive when we got to Kerrville at 4 a.m. in the morning, pulling a gooseneck trailer in the middle of the night over the rolling hills. For someone who's never really driven an F-350 or a 3500 with a gooseneck trailer, nah, you'll be fine. The trailer will take care of itself. It's just past Van Horn. Okay, I've been to Van Horn. No big deal. 10, 12 hours, big deal. 15 miles on the other side of Van Horn, there's this little bitty dirt road. It's not marked. I think there's a cement plant down the way. There's a railroad track somewhere around there. That's how you get there. That's how you get to the dirt road. But the dirt road to camp was 2 hours long. 10 miles an hour? Oh, no. Maybe 5 or 6 at best. It was rocky. It was rutted. It was gutted. We went through at least 6 fences. I had to get out and open the gate, of course, because I was a guy in the back. I was a new guy. 2 hours down this rocky dirt road. The last turn was tough. That's what he said. Yeah, it's going to be tough. Yeah, it was tough. It was probably like 60 degrees. It was probably like through a ditch. We all had to get out and make sure that we didn't bottom out the equipment, because we're hauling 2 trucks and trailers and things like that. So he left a lot of stuff out about this trip. He said the ranch house was a little rustic. Okay. So let's put that into perspective. Maybe about the size of that total, kind of side by side. Cinder blocks, metal roof, wooden door. That's about it. I think there was a window. I don't think you could see out. No, it was rustic. He said there was a bed. Not really. It was more of an army cot type thing, an army metal frame with a piece of plywood. No mattress. No. Bring your own stuff. Okay, got it. All right, check. Said there was running water. Oh, no. Not inside the rusted place. It was outside. 1 spigot, 1 pump. That's it. You need water? You go get water. He did say there wasn't a bathroom. That part was true. There was an outhouse way down the way. And he said it's a darn good thing that Mother Nature cleans it out annually. No worries there. He said it was big. I never knew what 6 sections meant. I don't know, 6,000 acres or something like that. It's a lot. It was big. Big for me, for sure. Never even could figure it out. But he loved it. He just loved every square inch of this location. He said that someone had to help with the horses. That's me. Madison would take care of the shoes. Daniel fed, watered, saddled, medicined, and he helped Madison. But yes, Bobby, he laughed. He said that we had to cook and someone needed to cook. No, that meant Clayton cooked breakfast, Madison cooked dinner, and Bobby made jokes and wanted to know why it was taking so long. I think he might have actually done some pancakes, but beyond that, he was busy getting ready, and he was yelling at us or telling us what we were doing right or wrong, telling us that we were late, telling us we need to hurry up, laughing the entire time. He said the horses knew the way. Okie doke, how do you manage that? So you get on a horse in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, you walk about a mile down to the bottom of this place, and you've got to pass all these landmarks that I couldn't tell what they were. It took me at least a year to figure out where we were going. We had the first cut, second cut, third cut. We had his favorite mountain. We had a back area. We had a rim. We had a bowl. We had somewhere that you had to go back behind to go look on the other side back there. Meanwhile, he's communicating with all of, the farm and the other people that are hunting with radios, telling them where we're going, what they're seeing. I am lost. He's having a great time. he told me how much that he loved, the scenic aspect of it, but he didn't tell me that on one area of the scenic aspect, riding the horse, that you would be on like a 6-inch little trail. The horse would have his head down, and you'd be looking about 10 feet down, but the 10 feet down was the 500 feet down to the bottom of the ridge. So definitely, he's loving it. I'm not. And the deer. And that's the whole objective. His goal is we go somewhere that they have predetermined. We tie the horses up. We help Bobby off. At least last year, Madison and I had to help Bobby off and on, which was lots of fun. But it was excellent. Tie the horses up. You grab your rifle. You grab your binoculars and whatever else, and you sit. And you glass. No, you use your binoculars. No, you glass. And you look. And you look. And you look. There's even a picture up there of him showing you, looking. And was his world. Absolutely loved every single second of it. And the reason I bring this up is because, to me, he let me into his life in that 1 week of his world, and it was the biggest thing ever. It was fantastic. He talked about it on and on. Before we went, after we came back, events, nights, weekends. In your house, we have countless antlers, stories, and the pictures. And that's what I love about Robert Hunt. He let me into his life. Family, farming, and hunting.
Good morning. My name is Shelley. I am Jean's oldest child. Bobby was my stepdad for most of my adult life. He loved my mother passionately. He loved his children a lot, but he adored his grandchildren. And I was very fortunate to be in his world. One of the things that Jeff touched on was the fact that Bobby, when you were talking to him, you at that moment were the most important person to him. He was focused on you. He was listening to everything that you had to say. You were his world. And that's one of the things that I loved about him. I could have been telling him about shopping, and he was still listening to me. But the one thing is his kindness towards people. He just cared about people so much. He said, I will help you anytime you need it. He said, you just call. I said, okay. But a couple of years ago, Daniel and I bought a new house, and he was so funny because any fence project we had, any yard project, Bobby was always there. He was really willing to help at any moment, and he did. He came, Daniel let him ride the tractor in the backyard, which that thrilled him to death. He left very happy that day, believe me. But one of the things is I had always told Bobby through the years, because he was so kind to my family and took such good care of all of us. I said, Bobby, at some point, you're going to walk into the gates of heaven, and there's not going to be any questions asked whatsoever. You're just going to get to walk in. There's no test, no nothing. And God will welcome you to heaven, as we're doing today. But I just want everybody to know we really loved Bobby Hunt very, very much. And we're glad to be part of his life.
Do I need to turn this one on? No? Okay, I'm good like I am? All right, good to go. All right, what an honor it is for all of us to gather here today and honor the life lived by Robert Brian Hunt. As we begin today, I want to do something a little different. I do this not to offend anyone, but to honor Bobby. We had a little deal that when things got tough, put your hat on, pull it down, and get it done. So I'm going to put my hat on, and I'm going to pull it down, and I invite anyone in the audience that has their hat, please put it on, and let's see if we can get this thing done. To most, he was known as Bobby. To a lot of the family over here, he was Uncle Bobby. To a precious few, he was Pops. But to me, he was just RB. By blood, my uncle. By choice, my business partner for over 26 years. And I want to point out on the slide, okay, there it is. I want to point out the number 2. There's a lot of symbolism in that slide. That's our, whatever you call it, thing. And but if you look at the bottom number 2, you see 2 Hunts. And the Hunts was RB and Gene. Bobby had a favorite saying about it. He said that we never had a crossword. I want you to know that technically that's correct because we means 2. But there's too many people here that know me too well, and my credibility would be destroyed if I told you I went 26 years without saying a crossword. But I will tell you they were few and far between. And when I did issue a crossword, it was never returned, ever. So our story is, we never had a crossword. And in the words of Colin Ray, that's our story, and we sticking to it. He was more than a business partner. He was my hunting partner. Y'all heard all the stories about the hunting. The question always comes up, how many years did Bobby go to Van Horn? Nobody knows. I will tell you that in an early trip, he killed a big deer and a fox. And he was dearly proud of that fox. And he took care of that fox and he cleaned that fox. But y'all, you may not know this, but a stuffed fox eventually died. No more fox, but don't worry. Bobby's still going to Van Horn. If you look at the camp, you see the 2 pictures, and I want you to know that the pictures kind of flatter the camp. You can travel this country, and you will not find facilities equal to what we had at Van Horn. The cabinets inside were not flat. They sloped. And the legend is that when they were building the cabinets, nobody had a level. So you make do and understand the crew we're hunting with. What they used was a whiskey bottle. But the problem was the project lasted longer than the whiskey. But Bobby was more than my partner, more than my hunting partner. He was more than my best friend. The relationship between me and Bobby was more like a father and a son. And we talk about your father, it was my dad who first introduced me to Bobby. And I'll never forget what he said. And it's true today. Everybody loves Bobby. Everybody loves Bobby. But it's not just true of everybody. Animals love Bobby. Okay? They loved him. They adored him. He had a mule. Dickie boy, little bitty mule. May have seen pictures of him. Okay? He gave a square $100 bill for that mule at an auction ring. But he hauled that mule around, and Bobby could go out in the pasture with a lead rope and a halter. That mule could be eating green grass. He's going to quit eating green grass. He's going to walk over there and see what Bobby wanted. If he could speak, he would say, Bobby, do you need me today? Let's go. I could go out there with a bucket of feed and a handful of sugar cubes, and if the mule could speak, he would say, what do you think? I'm stupid? The mule hated me. I really don't know why. But he pulled that mule to Van Horn in a little 2-horse trailer. It was blue. All right? I figured that he took that mule 25 trips in that trailer. His route was downtown San Antonio, right through I-10. So that's 50 times he went through there. So when we first started going, I pulled the little blue trailer. And while I was pulling the little blue trailer, I was introduced to this nice young man. He was wearing a very fancy uniform, and he had these little lights on top of his car. And he told me that that blue trailer had never had a license plate ever. Everybody loved Bobby, but nobody said he was perfect. He had a German Shepherd pet that he was real proud of, a little before my time. Dog's name was Cinnamon. Now, Cinnamon adored Bobby, adored him. But he wouldn't even let somebody feed him when they were out of town. But when Bobby was there, the world was perfect. He loved Cinnamon and Cinnamon loved him. I want to move on to another dog. The dog's name is Coco. Oh, isn't that a pretty picture? That's one of Jean's favorite pictures, if y'all didn't know. She loves that picture. I have no knowledge of that dog. Well, I do. I did. I researched that dog's pedigree. Just like a horse, it's got a top and a bottom, all right? And I researched that dog's pedigree and his breeding, and I found out that he was solid bred, top and bottom, yapping mutt. Okay? That dog had the most offensive bark, annoying bark that I ever heard in my life, but that dog loved Bobby. And Bobby loved that dog. They had kind of a strange relationship, and every day when they got ready to leave, when the dog was young, he rode in the back of the truck. When he got older, he got to move up front, but he's in the back of the truck now. And when they drove off, the dog had his head stuck around the corner on the driver's side of the cab, looking towards Bobby and just barking that yap. Yap, yap, yap. And Bobby had his window rolled down. He's got his head out the window, and he's hollering, "Shut up, Coke! Shut up, Coke!" I don't know how far that went, but he was still hollering it when they got out of ear distance. So it came to pass that it was time to go to Van Horn. And Coco was rather young. So Bobby fixed a spot in the backyard for Coco to be. So Bobby's gone, and then the task of taking care of Coco falls to Jean and Chad. And somehow the dog escapes the cage, and the dog finds his way into the house. And Jean's a dog lover. She loves dogs. But this dog destroys her house. The dog goes into every room in the house and takes care of business. All right? So eventually, she's had all she can stand. She gathers the dog up. She takes it to the local vet and says, "I need you to board this dog for 2 weeks." Now, we're only in Van Horn 10 days, but that's okay. She boards it up. Okay. Now, come Saturday afternoon, I know it's Saturday afternoon because I know what the phone call said. It's middle of the afternoon Saturday. And the call is, we're loaded up and coming home. And Jean Ann realizes on Saturday afternoon that Coco is boarded at the vet, and Bobby's coming home tonight. I don't know how she got that dog, but somehow she got that dog. And that dog and Jean meet Bobby at the door. Okay, we've been gone a while. So Bobby and Jean break out the kissy face, licky lips. I mean, it's all over the place. It's going on, all right? The dog's trying to get in on it, but he can't. Okay? Eventually, the neighbors told him they should go inside. Okay? So they're inside, and eventually, in the evening, it comes time to retire to the bedroom. And if you ever want to know if Bobby loved Coco more or Jean more, at this point, he told the dog it was time to be somewhere else. And Bobby and Jean lived happily ever after, the end. Paul Harvey is famous for the saying, "So God made a farmer." But for us, God made more than a farmer. God made a farmer named Bobby. And I want to look at what Bobby poured in a mixture to make Bobby. And God started with a tender heart. Bobby had the tenderest heart of anybody I was ever around. All the time we're hunting, Okay, there might come up a group of javelinas. Javelinas. We're out there to hunt. Somebody wants to shoot, all right? But without exception, every time, Bobby said the same thing. Don't you shoot the babies. Don't shoot the babies. It's not even a hole. It's a stupid rat. Don't shoot the babies. We're harvesting rice. A lot of stories you notice come around harvesting rice. Can't imagine why. But we're harvesting rice, and that's just my water bottle. We're harvesting rice, and a group of pigs that just entered. They just got to be a presence in Colorado County, and they're out there walking around. And so Dale calls to Bobby, bring me some guns. Bobby comes across the field. He's got guns under both arms, pistols, rifles, you name it, he's got it. And he walks out, and he's stopping when he gets there. And when he hands you a gun, he always says the same thing. He hands you a gun, he says, don't shoot the babies. Don't shoot the babies. Now, not everybody abided by that rule, but that's another story that we don't really have time for. But Bobby had a tender heart. And he made Bobby physically powerful. He was strong beyond his own knowledge. So we're at harvest again, and it showered. I was a young lad. I was 11, 12, something like that. All right? We're sitting around basically watching the dew dry, but you can't harvest when it's wet. Daddy and Dale had a big man that worked for him. He was about 6'4", 3 1/4. Okay, so he's a little overweight, but he was really proud of his strength, and he thought he was the strongest man there. So, for entertainment purposes, we decide, hey, why don't y'all arm wrestle? And so we get it up, and there may have been a little side betting going on the side, but get them on an auger wagon hitch. They lock their arms like this, and nobody even gets a hold to make sure to get a fair start. Bobby says, just go anytime you're ready. And Big Ben did. But the arm didn't move. It sat there right dead center. Bobby's just holding. Got a stupid little smirk on his face. He ain't in a bind. And it stayed there for a very long time. The sweat began to pour down Big Ben's face. And it looked like Big Ben's going to win because it went towards Bobby just a little way. It looked like he was going down. And all of a sudden, it come right back to top dead center. And it stopped. If you're paying attention, you know what just happened. And everybody knows the answer. And Bobby says to Big Ben, would you like to call this a draw? And Big Ben says, would you let me do that? Bobby says, I'll quit if you will. And it was over. Now, a lot went on right there. But after it was over, Bobby didn't talk about how strong he was or how good he did. He talked about how hard it was to hold Big Ben. And he just built him up about how strong he was. He made no deal about the fact that Bobby could have put Big Ben down at any point. He was just that physically powerful. But God also gave him a backbone. And by backbone, I'm not talking about the structure of the backbone. I'm talking about he had a backbone. And this story is called Direction is Important. And I had the privilege of hearing this story from the three characters in it. I heard it from all three. So I know that this story was very important in their lives. And the three characters are Robert B., RB, his brother Dave, and my dad. They're cutting rice. This is it's a 55R combine, and it's on steel tracks. Okay? That's what they did when it got wet. Bobby got the combine stuck, and he got it stuck bad. I know it was stuck bad because both Daddy and Dale are over there and involved in the pullout. Okay, they got two tractors. My daddy is always a designated conductor. All right? And he does just like this. Y'all get with me now. He's got 2 tractors hooked up. And the tractor closest to the combine, I'm gonna say over here, has to tighten the chain first. I'll tighten that. Okay, next tractor you lead, you tighten that. Everybody ready? Everybody ready? Let's all go together. And shoo, they all go. The problem, the tractor's pulling this way. And Bobby missed the verse, he's going the wrong way. It's an old 55, and old daddy, and they that's easy to do. So nothing is said, just gotta be Bobby, but it's, okay, reset the tractor, and go again. Tighten up. Okay, hold that and hold that. Okay, lead tractor, you tighten up. You tighten up. Are y'all ready? Everybody ready? Here we go. And go again. Bobby's going that way. Both tractors going that way. And I think they that way. When they got that stop, 2 men went up. The ladder of that combine is there right above the tractor. You can see I can't see it real well, but there's a ladder there. And Daddy, Dale, and Bobby are all gathered at the top of that combine. And they have issues. There is a lively discussion and a lot of suggestions made. One of them made is we put somebody else in the combine and find it first. Bobby had it back on. He said, fellas, I messed up. It's my fault. I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna get it right. Y'all get back out there where y'all were. I promise I will get it right this time. And he did. And they did. And they pulled the combine out. Bobby had a backbone. And he stood for himself when it was necessary. And all 3 of those men, when you said in the obituary that one time they were all partners and the partnerships broke up. But yes, it did on one side, but it didn't on the other. Those 3 men worked together for many years at harvest and planting with no financial connection. They just threw everything together and got it done. Pulled their hat down and got it done. The next picture is a 705 tractor. It's a little more modern. You see, it's a 95R combine. Title of this story is Quench Your Thirst. All right? We're cutting rice at Sheridan. You see, I'm driving a tractor. There's no umbrella. Okay? There's not even an umbrella. It's July. And every time you made a round, you got your 2 hoppers, you jumped into the truck, and you went by the pickup that had a water can on it. It had 1 cup. It didn't matter. Everybody drank. That was the then time. Everybody shared the same cup. And I got me my glass of water and I drank it. It tasted so good. But I turned around and sat on the end gate and had myself a 2nd cup. But while I was drinking the 2nd cup, I looked up in the hopper of that combine and I could see rice beginning to stack up. And y'all, I knew I was screwed. Okay? The rule that Camille didn't mention was that the combine doesn't wait. It doesn't wait. And I knew the combine was going to have to wait. So I sashay out there, finally get there, pull under my daddy's hopper or Homony's combine. And I'm facing away from him. And I do not want to look up. But if you look at that cab, it's got a little window up there at the top. Now this one has his hinges on it. His had a crank window. It's over 100 degrees outside, so don't get ridiculous. He's mad, but he's not getting out of the cab. He rolls the windows down. I have no idea what the man said, but I understood it. And I drove away with tears coming down both sides of my face. I was crushed. I disappointed my daddy. Bobby was the 2nd combine, so I pulled around under Bobby. And it appears something is wrong with Bobby's combine because it's shaking. It's just shaking. And the reason it's shaking is Bobby's laid back in his seat. And pardon me, because I know we're in a church, but Bobby is laughing his ass off at me. And he rolled the window down and said something, I don't know what it was. I knew what he meant, I knew Bobby. But before I left, Bobby got out of the cab. Understand, Bobby was allergic to rice dust. But he gets out of the cab, comes down the ladder. walks over to the back of my combine, reaches up and just slaps me on the back. That's it. And turned around, went back, crawled up his cab. Now he's not only laughing, he's coughing and sneezing. Okay? But Bobby made things better. And there was things said when there wasn't things said. And what Bobby said to me was, "It's going to be all right." Because Bobby had compassion. He had a lot of compassion. And the last thing that God put in the box is called the it factor. You hear a lot about the it factor in sports. Okay, Tom Brady had it, Larry Bird had it. It. But what is it? And Bobby had it. This is not a great picture here, but it shows a group of men, and they're at a big hole, and they're trying to shovel and fix it. Okay? That's not really what it was. There was more people at this scene that I want to talk about. And there's more people there. The water's deeper. We've been shoveling all day, fixing holes. And we find a big one. The hole is 8 foot plus wide, running water over your boot top. Normally in that situation, you use some hay, but we were out of hay. We didn't have any hay. So there's a group, 5 or 6 men, we're standing on our shovels just like this. That's the way we did it. And here comes RB. I don't know why he wasn't with us to begin with, but RB walks up, and RB says, in kind of a smart aleck tone, RB says, "What's the problem?" Now, this was early in Jesse's career. Jesse Ovard, that's my son-in-law. He was the rookie of the bunch, okay? And leave it to the rookie to explain to the senior veteran what the problem is. So he reaches over and gets a big shovel load of dirt, and he throws it in the hole. And, of course, the water just, poof, it's gone. And in a very smart aleck voice, Jesse returns the message, "That's the problem." And Bobby walks over to Jesse and said, "Jesse, this ain't no problem. Let the old man show you how to use it." He said, "Give me your wallet. Give me anything you got in your pocket, Jesse. I need it." So Jesse empties his pocket, and Bobby takes Jesse over to the corner of the hole, and he says, "Now, lay down." And Jesse, in Bill Edenball style, says, "In the water?" When he lays down in the water, Bobby reaches and grabs the shovel. And he starts throwing the shovel over there. He just shoved. And pretty soon, one of the guys that was watching, he joins in. And then another. And then another. And pretty soon, everybody's shoving. And what they do is shovel dirt up against Jesse, and Jesse slides over. And Jesse slides over. And they do that till the hole is closed. Now, all of them shovel, I just sat and watched the light. But everybody's laughing, everybody's having a good time. Previously, they were tired, frustrated, and wanted to go home. I've been with Bobby 30 plus years, more than what the farmer did. And I want you to know that I have never seen him before or since. Bobby told me to do this all the time. But he took a situation that was full of tension, and he just walked up there and fixed it. And everybody went home feeling like they had accomplished something, satisfaction. When Bobby came, things got better. Now, to think that all of that is short term is wrong. I want to show you the next slide. There it is. It's on the same one. You see the guy on the right? My right. The guy with the hay and the shovel, he's by himself. That picture was taken 1 year after what I just described. And there you see the man that laid down in the water, Jesse Ovard, in a hole twice the size. And he fixed it by himself. Okay? What Bobby did had an influence on people for a long time. Bobby was always ready. He was ready to come to work. He was ready to get to work. And I want you to know he was the best. Let me rephrase that. He was the fastest take-apart guy I ever saw. You could say, RV, we can get that apart. Okay. You come back and be in 1,000 pieces. But don't worry. All the bolts are in that 1 5-gallon bucket. You should have no trouble putting that back together. Everybody loved Bobby. Nobody said he was perfect. He was ready to go hunting. But the one thing Bobby was always ready for is to go home to Jane. Previously, I said that nobody said Bobby was perfect, but that's not really true. Because there's one person that did. She not only loved Bobby, she considered him perfect. She shared some romantic stories with me, but I'm going to take the Forrest Gump and say that's all I got to say about that. What a glorious 34 years. It's always good to involve a good book. So I'd like to look at Romans 12. And I'll read from verse 9. Verse 12 is on the screen. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. I can tell you without hesitation that Bobby did not want to leave this life. Because we said everybody loved Bobby. But you got to know that Bobby loved everybody. We talked about how he was always ready to go, and he was. And I want you to know that he was ready to go home to his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So God bless Bobby. God bless RB. And thank you for your kind attention very much.
My name is Carson Dixon. I am Pops' grandson, and I'm gonna keep this short and sweet, just like Pops wanted to be. So I have a poem prepared. This poem is called Pops. In the land of rice, where fields stretch wide, Pops worked with farmer's pride. From dawn till dusk, he tilled the earth, growing rice for all it's worth. But when the season turned to hunt, Pops shifted, a skill to front. From fields of green to woods so dense, he chased the deer with sharp suspense. In camouflage, he'd stalk his claim, tracking deer with a hunter's aim. Yet sometimes nature would jest, the deer would vanish, Grandpa confessed. With muddy boots and hunting gear, he'd roam the woods without a fear. But amidst the quiet, peaceful scene, Grandpa once dozed off in between. Now in the fields of gold, beyond the skies, he tends to rice that never dies. And in the woods, with laughter's cheer, he'll hunt those deer without a peer. A farmer, a hunter, in tales we weave, and memories cherished, he'll never leave. Grandpa's legacy, a joyous array, rice farmer turned hunter, forever in play. Now, in the recent years, Pops' favorite TV show was Yellowstone, as many of you know. And there's a famous line by Rip Wheeler that says, "Cowboys never say goodbye, they just say see you later." So Pops, I'll see you later.
Hi, everyone. I'm Colby Cordray. This is my sister Kaylee, and we're both Pops' grandchildren. Romans 8:28 and 30. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. For those God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. And those he predestined, he also called. Those he called, he also justified. Those he justified, he also glorified.
Good morning. My name is Anthony Penaloza. I'm also one of Pops RB's grandchildren. This is my sister Jordan. I just want to say as well, but also want to talk about Pops. Saw in the slideshow, one of the things was when I grow up, I want to be a farmer. I remember that came from me in elementary school. It was a day of career day, I think maybe first, second grade. And somehow it was one of the displays of all the different careers you could have as a kid. And somehow we ended up taking that home. I'm not sure we were supposed to, but when Pop saw, I was just thinking of when I want to grow up, I want to be a farmer. And that's what he became. And it stuck with that. We ended up taking that home with us because that's what he was. It was something that you could have been as a kid. And also with Pops RB, I mean, just a great man. I can't say in high school, I mean, one sporting event, educational thing, graduation. I mean, I don't think that man missed a single event that me or my sister ever went to. Even though he had to drive out there and come see us, he was always there for us. And always asked a question, even after a game, sweaty, tired. He always had questions and things that we were doing. It just made him such a great man. So I'm just reading a couple verses from Philippians. Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again. Rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Thank you.
I just wanted to say about Pops is like we all talked about how he made everyone feel so special when you were talking to him, and I was trying to find like a specific memory to talk about, but I just kept thinking about when I would see every time I would see him, he always had a compliment in hand, no matter how good or bad I looked for the day. He always made you feel like pretty, handsome, whatever you are. He just always made you feel special, and that is one thing I'm gonna miss about him is never a critique or anything. Just every time I saw him, he just made me feel good. Yeah, thanks, Pops.
Hello, I'm Cameron Dixon, Pops' grandchild. I just wanted to talk about how loving he was and supportive as a grandfather, as a father, and as an uncle. Proverbs 17:6 says, children's are a crown to the aged, and parents are the pride of their children. And so whether it was talking about sports, school, or how I managed to shoot a hog in Abilene. I was not the grandchild he would expect to be doing that, but whatever it was, he gave his full attention, and I felt so loved, and his love was very special. So thank you.
What an honor it is for me to be here as well today. I've known Bobby for over 40 years. I've been married to his niece, and from day one, Bobby has been just a true friend, more like a brother. And it's just such an honor for me, and I thank you so much for being able to be a part of this service today. We've talked a lot about his farming, and we've talked a lot about hunting. I want to tell you something, as you well know, his heart was with the Father. His heart was with the family. And one of the things he loved to do was sing. And we're going to do that right now. Bobby always led the song at our family reunions. And he'd always say, I want to sing this in memory of Mom, which was Mama. Well, we're going to do that today, but we're going to add him to the list as we honor him. Would you please turn to number 742? Number 742. When upon life's billows you are tempest tossed, when you are discouraged thinking all is lost, count your many blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord has done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God has done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God has done. So amid the conflict, whether great or small, when you are discouraged, God is over all. Count your many blessings, angels will attend. Help and comfort give you to your journey's end. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God hath done. I can see him leading that song. Would you please turn to number 129. Number 129. Amazing Grace. Boy, is it. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Would you please turn to number 2? Number 2. At the last family reunion we had back in the summer, Bobby and Jean came home with Jan and I, and Bobby rode with me, and we had a lot of time to talk about this day. I told him, I said, Bobby, I said, you may be doing this for me, And he goes, well, I just want to make sure that you pass along. I want you to lead singing at my service. But he said, I want you to pass this along to those people that come, if anybody comes. And I said, there'll be a lot of people there, Bobby. And he says, I want more than anything for God's name to be praised. So we're going to do that with this great hymn. Now, I know for a fact that he would want you to stand, but we need to stand to sing this wonderful hymn. So would you please join me as we stand and sing? We praise thee, O God, for the Son of thy love, for Jesus who died and is now gone above. Hallelujah, thine the glory. Hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, thine the glory. Revive us again. We praise thee, O God, for thy Spirit of light, who has shown us our Savior and scattered our night. Hallelujah, thine the glory. Hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, thine the glory. Revive us again. All glory and praise to the Lamb that was slain, who has borne all our sins and has cleansed every stain. Hallelujah, thine the glory. Hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, thine the glory. Revive us again. Revive us again. Fill each heart with thy love. May each soul be rekindled with fire from. Everybody sing hallelujah, thine the glory. Hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, thine the glory. Revive us again. The church said, don't you sit down, because we're going to sing number 23. It's kind of one of the last two songs that were always sung at our family reunions, and it's kind of it would only be right, that same protocol to hold on today. Number 23. There is beyond the azure blue a God concealed from human sight. He tinted his skies with heavenly hue and framed the worlds with his great mind. There is a God, He is alive, in Him we live, and we survive. From the start God created man. He is our God, the great I am. There was a long time ago a God whose voice the prophets heard. He is the God that we should know, who speaks from his inspired word. There is a God, He is alive, in Him we live, and we survive. From the start God created man. He is our God, the great I am. Our God who sat upon a tree, a life was willing there to give, that He from sin might set men free, and evermore with Him could. Come on, man, let's sing. There is a God, He is alive, in Him we live, and we survive. From the start, God created man. He is our God, the great I am. Come on, man. There is a God. He is alive. In Him we live and we survive. And the star God created man. He is our God, the great I am. The church said, you may be seated.
Please join me in prayer. Dear God, we thank you for the life and example of Bobby Hunt. We remember his smile, his laugh, his care, his heart. We remember his love for Jean and for his family as an example of your own love for us. And while these memories bring us great joy and love, we also come today with heavy hearts. Hearts that are grieving, hearts that are sad, hearts that have a piece of them missing. We are grateful, Lord, that you can hold all of these pieces of us at once. And we are mindful that as you sent your own Son to be fully human, to walk among us, that Jesus too experienced both joy and grief, both love and suffering. May we find comfort as we remember that you were with Bobby to the very end and to what is next. May we find comfort as we remain here without Bobby. In our sweet memories and in our deepest grief, may we also experience your comfort and presence. May we know that you are right here with us, sitting in this space. May we remember that you alone, Jesus, have conquered death. Lord, we're grateful for our companions on earth and for our cloud of witnesses. We're grateful for this community to share memories, to share love, and to carry one another. Blessed are those who mourn, for God will comfort them. Let us trust in your comfort. Let us trust in your love as we grieve and feel loss. And now, more than ever, may we cling to the life you promise. Lord, bring us peace as we mourn. In your name we pray. Amen.
Love. Jean asked me to say the final word. That's the final word. I loved Bobby Hunt. On Sunday mornings before church, Bobby and Jean would walk in the back, and almost without exception, Bobby would look at me and say, "Hello, preacher." And I'm going to miss that more than I can possibly tell you. At the end of church, he would always come up to me and say, "Boy, that was a good one," talking about the sermon. And I'm going to miss that too. 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4 says, "Love is patient and love is kind." Because Bobby was the epitome of love to so many of us, it would be pretty easy to substitute that and just simply say, Bobby was patient and Bobby was kind. and we would be right. At the end of that passage in 1 Corinthians 13:13, Paul wrote, "Now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. The greatest of these is love." Now Jesus, when talking about faith, said that if your faith is the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. If we could put all of these things together, we could just as easily say, if our love was the size of a grain of rice, we could conquer the entire world. And there it went. Well, I brought a grain of rice with me as a visual aid. So picture it right here. And I swear one of y'all has Bobby's laugh. Did y'all hear that? I was talking to Madison the other day on the phone, and Madison laughs like Bobby. But somebody else even got mad. So you, dude, man. Oh. I have in my notes about Bobby's laugh and how much joy it was. It's so good to hear that today. So thank you for that. You know, Bobby conquered the world with love the size of a grain of rice that just continued to grow and grow and grow. One of my favorite comedians says that rice is the perfect food when you're in the mood for 2,000 of something. That was Bob. It started with one and just became 2,000 of something. And I don't know how else to say it other than just thanks be to God for Bobby Hunt. Let's pray. God, you have been so good to us in sharing Bobby with us and blessing our life with him. We really don't know what else to do other than just to thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Many of us can easily say that our lives are brighter because of Bobby, and we thank you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Would you please stand? It's always tradition at our family reunions. You can grab a hand next to you if you feel comfortable about that. That's okay. If not, that's okay too. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you and be gracious. The Lord be gracious, gracious unto you. Amen. Amen. Amen.
We have a reception prepared at the end of this hall. We'd like to give time for the family to exit out first and go all the way down the hall into the fellowship hall. And then once they get down there, everyone is welcome to come join them. We have food prepared. Thank you again for being here today.